In my neck of the woods, it's still swimsuit season, and I made not one, but 2 swimsuits. So let's get into it. Hey Stitches, your girl Chris here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel on social. In this space, you guys already know that we obsess about sewing. If this is the first time that you're finding my channel, then it's about time. I hope you'll consider sticking around with me. If you have been here before, then thank you guys so much for continuing to click on my videos. Anywho's, in my neck of the woods, it is super hot. And it doesn't ever get cold here. And that means that I can pretty much rock a swimsuit all year around. Now, I've only ever made one swimsuit, you guys. Last year, I tried my hand at the Megan Nielsen Cottesloe swimsuit. If I can find a picture, then I'll pop it here on the screen so that you guys can see what it ended up looking like. Now, that swimsuit journey, I can't say that I enjoyed it. I didn't really. After that project, I think I might have sworn never to sew another swimsuit, you guys. Then fast forward to this year, I got back from a trip in, I want to say May, and I decided that I wanted to sew another swimsuit. Like out of the blue, all I could think about sewing was a swimsuit. And so I grabbed for this pattern. It is New Look 6734, this one right here, and decided I wanted to make View B, this one right here with the tie. I'm not sure if you guys can see the envelope very well. I'll be sure to go ahead and pop the line drawings on screen so that you can probably take a better look at it. I don't have a lot of New Look patterns. In fact, I think I have maybe 2 or 3 in my stash. And so when I sewed for Hot Girl Summer this year, that was a sewing challenge by Rochelle of Rochelle Handmade Designs. I used this pattern simply because I didn't have very much to choose from. I'll drop the thumbnail for the Hot Girl Challenge right here and you can go ahead and check out that video. But after you watch this one, of course. Now, I sewed View B in this swimsuit and I used some fabric that I had picked up on a trip to Barbados. I did a full fabric haul here on the channel. I'll go ahead and drop it right here so that you guys can see that I had bought, I think it was almost 25 pounds of fabric in Barbados. One of which was this amazing zebra print black and white swimsuit material, and I just couldn't wait to get into it. You guys already know, if you have been here for any time, that I have a slight obsession with animal print fabrics, and I was just eager to cut into this one. Now, for the sizing, I used a size 16 blended out to an 18. Now, if I were going by my actual body measurements, I should have made an 18 blended out to a 20. So I sized down in this swimsuit pattern. I started constructing it and it wasn't going too badly. As a matter of fact, I was really pleased with the progress that I was making. So I'm going to pause the video right here so I can show you guys a little bit of the behind the scenes making of this swimsuit. I'm tracing off this pattern, and these are the panty backs for New Look 6734. So I'm just tracing off my pattern pieces because I like to preserve my original patterns just in case I change shape or size or anything like that. And I don't live where patterns are sold, and so it's much better for me to trace my patterns. I've traced off a size 16 blending to an 18 at the swimsuit top, but for the panties I'm just going to go ahead and trace off the straight size 16. Now, there's no way for me to twirl this swimsuit other than to actually make the swimsuit. So this is going to be a trial run, and my fingers are crossed that I have selected the right sizes for my current size. Now, I did use a pattern envelope and I chose the sizes based on what I saw on the bodice measurements on the pattern envelope. So again, I'm tracing off a size 16 to 18 at the top of my swimsuit and a straight size 18 at the bottom of my swimsuit. All right, so I'm just placing my pattern pieces down on my fabric, and then I'm going to go ahead and start cutting out using my rotary cutter from LDH scissors. Now, I really like this rotary cutter, you guys. I would absolutely recommend it. No, I'm not affiliated with LDH, but I find this so much easier to cut certain fabrics, especially those shifty kinds, and I suspect that this knit fabric is going to be quite shifty, so I'm going to use my rotary cutter. Now, I also like to use pattern weights when cutting out certain fabrics. Again, this is a knit fabric. I'm not really familiar or too familiar with working knit fabrics, but I can tell from this one that there's quite a bit of drape, and it sort of reminds me of like a rayon fabric in that respect. And so I'm putting down my pattern weights, and then I'll go ahead and use my rotary cutter to cut around all of my pattern pieces. I don't think I have enough pattern weights. I only do have 4 pattern weights. So I've just grabbed some pink salmon from my pantry, and I'm going to use my tins just to add just some additional weight to my project. Now, you guys, please don't judge me. I really need to get some better pattern weights, but for now, this is going to have to do the trick. I've been working on my swimsuit. I swear I have been working on this for like an hour now, and this is all that I have completed. Now, I had to read my instructions several times over just to make sure I understood what I was supposed to do. And I did go ahead and attach my elastic using my serger. I do have an elastic attachment foot, but I have not had much use out of it. So I was messing about with it, and I think this looks pretty good for my first real try using that foot. And on the outside of my swimsuit, I was meant to top stitch, and I had to play with the settings on my machine just to determine the right tension. I tried it out a couple times on a piece of scrap paper, and it seemed like the tension was too tight because the backside of my zigzag stitches were tunneling, and so I had to mess about with it a little bit. But I think I have finally completed the first couple steps for my swimsuit. So I'm going to continue now. I did mean to record me at the serger, but you guys, that was so intense, I forgot to hit the record button. So this is where I am, and I'm going to continue working on it now. Ta-da! We have the makings of a swimsuit top. What do you think? I am so stoked to have gotten to this far. Listen, I almost never read my pattern instructions, but I have been holding on to these babies for dear life just because, goodness gracious me. Swimsuits. So I'm attaching the panty section of my swimsuit to the bodice section, and I did go ahead and add a piece of power mesh just to the front panties. Hopefully that will help to keep my tummy in just a little bit. I did intend to film more of this process, but you guys, I sort of got carried away because I have had to pay such close attention to what I'm doing just because I am so unfamiliar with swimsuit making. So I do apologize for not having more footage of me actually constructing the swimsuit, but I'm hoping that the snippets that I have been able to capture are still useful to those of you who are watching. So I did press my side seams for my panties on the main going in one direction and the lining in the opposite direction, just to reduce some bulk at the seam line. And I am going to baste it together first at my sewing machine, and then I'll go ahead and serge it. Work has continued on my swimsuit, and I have attached the panties to the top, and I have done the elastic at the neckline and at the arm side. So it doesn't look too bad given I have very little experience with sewing swimsuits. I'm sure it could be a lot neater and all of that, but I think I'm pretty happy with how it looks. Now, these stitches right here are actually basting stitches, which I need to go ahead and unpick. From the right side, this is what my top stitching looks like. Again, I'm pretty pleased with it, given that I have very little experience in this regard. Now, I have ran out of swimsuit elastic. The pattern envelope, I think, calls for 2 packs of swim elastic, and I only had 1. But I know sometimes that the pattern envelopes sort of recommend more of a particular thing than is necessary. So you might find that it recommends 3 yards of fabric, but you can eke it out of 2.5 yards and that sort of thing. And I really thought I would have been able to get away with my 1 pack of swimsuit elastic but I was not. So this is the swimsuit elastic that I use from Dritz. I think I picked this up in Joann, probably on one of my trips to America, but I only bought one pack, and so I need to now go and source some more swimsuit elastic so that I can finish off the swimsuit. So I need to have enough swimsuit elastic to do the leg holes for the panties on both sides. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to pause my project here, and I'll be back once I order and receive more swimsuit elastic. Now, I do live on a tiny island, and ordering anything online takes forever to get here. So I don't anticipate being able to finish this swimsuit before, let's say, the end of May or maybe even early June, depending on how fast I can get some elastic. Unfortunately, I was really hoping to have this swimsuit finished in May, and I have been plowing away at it, and I'm really disappointed in myself that, as usual, I did not gather enough of my notions before commencing this project. So once I get the elastic, I'll be back to show you what the completed swimsuit looks like. All right, folks, we fast forwarded a couple of months, and I have pulled back out this unfinished swimsuit from my UFO. I had gotten the additional swimsuit elastic, and I got this months ago, you guys, but I just wasn't in the mood to start tackling the swimsuit again. But yesterday, I had the grand idea that I wanted to make the swimsuit pattern again. Yes, you heard me correctly. Not finish this one, but to make a different one altogether. Having started working on that one, I have now decided that now is the appropriate time to finish this one. And the only thing left to do on this one was to finish the leg elastic. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And then my swimsuit will finally be finished after months and months and months of sitting in my UFO. And we are finished. So this is swimsuit number 1. I do have some thoughts on the fit of the swimsuit and the measurements of the elastic and whatnot, but this was my first iteration. That's the back, I think, and this is the front. And then I made a second iteration of the very same swimsuit, and it looks like this. So I used this gorgeous rainbow fabric for the mane, and then I used this black and pink fabric for the lining. I had made my very first swimsuit using this fabric. It was a Megan Nielsen Cotteslow, and I had enough left to line my swimsuit. So I used it. I did not have enough of the main fabric to line the swimsuit, but I'm really pleased with how the swimsuit turned out. Now, I forgot to go ahead and add the tie bow to my second swimsuit. I had already made the tie, so I'm going to need to go ahead and just add the tie bow to this second iteration, which is going to be view B of the pattern. Oh my goodness, I find like I sound a little bit groggy today, and I feel a little bit nasal. I don't know if I'm coming down with a cold. I'm hoping that I am not. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I do not want a cold at this time. But if I sound a little bit like stuffy, it's because I am. Anyways, I ordered my swimsuit elastic and waited an eternity for it to get here. Now, of course, once it got here, I no longer felt like working on my swimsuit. And so my swimsuit sat in a corner for months and months and months. Until finally in August, I decided I wanted to sew another swimsuit, you guys. Not the initial swimsuit that I had been working on, but another one. I went on another trip and I had an opportunity to buy more fabric. I haven't shared that fabric haul with you guys just yet, but I will in short order. Needless to say, I got some really great fabrics. Now, I picked up one particular fabric, a colorful, like tie-dyed stretch knit that I had picked up in Antigua. And I only got 1 yard of this fabric because I bought it intending to make a swimsuit. Now, when I was trying to decide what swimsuit pattern I wanted to use, I did have the Megan Nielsen Cotteslow. I think I have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of the Edgewater Avenue swimsuits. And then, of course, I had New Look 6734. And what do you know? I decided to cut out another New Look 6734. This time, I made a couple tweaks to the fit of the bodice of the swimsuit. Now, I lowered the curve in the front of the boob area. There's a cutout on one side. And for my first iteration, when I tried it on, I felt like it cut a little bit too high up under my breast area. And so I went ahead and lowered it by a 1/4 inch. And I also did a 1/4 inch sway back adjustment on the back of my swimsuit. Now for my initial swimsuit, I did make one fit adjustment, and that was to do a 1/2 inch sloping shoulder adjustment. You guys, because I have terrible posture and I almost always need to make this particular adjustment. Other than that, I think I shortened my body seam by a 1/2 inch as well. So a 1/2 inch on my front, a 1/2 inch on my back, just because your girl has like a very short torso. Those were the adjustments for iteration number 1. As I said, when I embarked on iteration number 2, I also lowered the curve of the breast area by a 1/4 inch and then did a 1/4 inch sway back adjustment. Then I felt confident to cut out iteration number 2. Now it did take me a long time to cut out the second iteration just because I was playing around with the color placements. And would you know, you guys, once I had finished cutting it out, I did not have enough fabric to self-line my swimsuit. However, I had some leftover fabric from making the Megan Nielsen Cottesloe, and I decided to use that as my swimsuit lining. I also had some power mesh on hand, and I used just one layer in the front panty section just to try and hold in my mommy tummy a little bit. Now, I'm not sure how successful I was with the power mesh. Maybe I needed stronger power mesh. But I'll leave it up to you guys to judge when you see the photographs and twirls of my swimsuits. Now, as I said, it took me a long time to cut out the main fabric pieces for iteration number 2. And would you guess, it still didn't turn out quite right. Let me explain. Now, the fabric is the same on both sides. At least it looks the same on both sides. And when I have fabric that looks the same on both sides, I like to put a little piece of magic tape on what I consider the right side of the fabric, just in case once it's sewn up, you realize that there is a slight difference on either side. That has happened to me in the past. I have sewn up an outfit, then once I took photographs in it, I realized that the two sides actually were not identical. One side was slightly less saturated than the other side. Since then, I have liked to mark my right side of fabric with magic tape. So I did that for my swimsuit, and I took a long time making sure that my bodice front was lined up with my panty front, and so the colors ran vertically, and the same thing on the back. However, once I started constructing my swimsuit, I realized that for my lining pieces, I should have flipped my pieces the opposite side. So instead of cutting my front piece on the same side, I ought to have flipped the piece so that I mirrored the image on my lining side. Now, my lining fabric was quite different on both sides. So on one side it was printed, on the other side it was just this plain color. So once I started constructing, I had to actually flip my bodice main piece to the opposite side in order for me to merge my swimsuit main to my swimsuit lining. This obviously had the effect of flipping the color alignment that I had taken so much time to cut out. Now, if I had been thinking about it, I should have flipped my panty main to the opposite side. Now, the panty piece is cut out on the whole. It is identical on both sides of the panty, and so I really could have just flipped it to the opposite side so that I kept the same vertical sort of striped look with my colors. I did not do that, and so the colors on my front swimsuit piece ended up in a diagonal sort of arrangement. I'll pop a picture on screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. I don't think I'm doing a very good job of explaining it. You guys, when you're sewing, take your time. I don't think I was rushing per se, but after I ended up with that stumbling block, I just didn't follow through with the thought process, and I should have. If I did, I probably would have been a lot more pleased with my swimsuit front. Now, as far as my swimsuit back is concerned, notwithstanding taking so much time cutting out my pattern pieces, I'm still not happy with the swimsuit back either. There is a blob of blue print right at the apex of my bum, and it makes it look a little bit unsanitary. I feel like I should have moved around my panty piece so that I avoided that concentration of blue right at that point on my bum. But it's too late now, and I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm still going to rock my swimsuit. Now, other than that, I'm fairly happy with how my swimsuits turned out. In respect of swimsuit number 1, I do have some gaping right at the bust area and at the panty line. And that is because of the elastic guide measurements, you guys. The elastic measurements for the swimsuit pattern are so off. I don't know what it is about the elastic guide. All of my elastic pieces turned out way too long. So on my first iteration, I just sort of shortened them on the fly. Clearly, I didn't shorten the pieces enough for the waistline section because it ended up like bagging out. I didn't have enough experience in making swimsuits at this point. And so I thought cutting the elastic down to just a little bit shorter than the circumference of my waistline would have been sufficient. Clearly it was not. I needed to cut it a lot shorter so that I could stretch the elastic when I was sewing to help sort of cinch in the waist pieces a little bit. Now I did go back and add a pink tie to my black and white iteration. When I first cut up my pattern pieces, I thought I wanted to have the tie. When I started constructing, I thought I had done something wrong and could no longer add the tie. Now, once I had gone through the instructions on my second iteration, then I realized that the tie piece is actually just top stitched onto the swimsuit once you have completed constructing. And so I went back to iteration number 1. I had a little bit of hot pink lycra left over from making the Love Notions Lennox. Now, I am a Love Notions ambassador, and you can find my ambassador code always in the description box. So if you want to pick up any Love Notions pattern, then be sure to go ahead and use my ambassador code. It will save you guys an additional 10%, and it will earn me a small commission that goes right back into the running of this channel. Anyways, I used a little bit of that hot pink fabric that I had left over. It wasn't long enough to do the full length of the tie, but I decided that I was going to make it work anyway, and I top stitched it onto the black and white swimsuit to try and help me conceal the bagginess right here at the cutout on that swimsuit. I don't think in hindsight it was very effective, but alas, it adds a little bit of pop to my black and white fabric. Now going into iteration number 2, I shortened my elastic drastically. I think when I had done the waistline section, I shortened the elastic to a size 12 on the elastic guide. Now that I have finished constructing my swimsuit, I still feel like it could have been a little bit more snug, and maybe I should have gone down to the size 10 in the elastic guide. If I ever make this swimsuit again, then I'm definitely going to go down to a size 10 on the elastic guide at the waistline. Now by the time I got to do the neckline and the arm side area, I had made up my mind that I was going to use the size 10 in the elastic guide. And so I went ahead and cut out the size 10 in all of my elastic pieces. I'm not sure if that was too short for the neckline, because I feel like when I wear it, my neckline piece flips out a little bit. Now those of you who have any experience sewing swimsuits, please let me know in the comment section what might be causing the elastic at the front of my neckline area just to flip out a little bit. Is it a case that I cut my elastic too short for the neckline area? If so, then maybe I needed to stick with the 12 for the neckline area. I'm happy with how the 10 looks at the arm side, and I'm happy with how the 10 looks at the panty section. Now when the swimsuit is flat, then it bunches up, but once I wear it on the body, I feel like it fits quite snugly around the leg line. Now I forgot to mention that for iteration number 2, I also narrowed the crotch by a 1/4 inch for my panty line. 1/8 on one side, 1/8 on the other side of the front, and the same thing on the back, just because I felt like it was a little bit too broad when I tried on the panties in iteration number 1. Now I feel like I could have narrowed it just a little bit more, just to remove a little bit more bagging in the crotch area. So if I make this again, then I'm going to go in and take off another 1/4 inch on my panty front and a 1/4 inch on my panty back. Now I wore both of my swimsuits to the beach, and I'm happy to report that they are still standing. So I came back from the beach and I have washed both of my swimsuits, and they are still standing. So I'm super pleased that they have survived salt water at the beach here in the Caribbean. If I hold it up, maybe you guys can see what I'm talking about with my swimsuit at the waistline. It is sort of wavy right here, and it doesn't hold very snugly at my waistline section. Now for the swimsuit panties, perhaps you can see that they don't lie flat. And that is because I shortened the elastic. But when I stretch it on my leg line, then you don't see any waviness at all, and I feel like it gives me a better fit. So this is iteration number 1. Obviously, I'm going to pop in some more pictures and twirls so that you can see what it looks like on the body. And then this is iteration number 2. Okay, that's not the right way. Right, so this is iteration number 2. I really like this one, you guys, but I'm just a little bit annoyed about the placement of my fabric. Can you see how it runs diagonally across the swimsuit, the yellow on this side and the yellow on this side? When I cut it out, there was yellow on this side, then the pinks, and then the blues. And I'm a little bit annoyed that I wasn't able to follow through, but that is not going to stop me from wearing this swimsuit. Now this is the back. You can see the blotch that I was talking about. It sits right in the center of my bum, and it's probably not as flattering as I envisioned. But again, I'm still going to wear this swimsuit. I really do love this fabric in particular. Now, those are my 2 swimsuits that I made. If you guys have ever made a swimsuit, be sure to let me know what your experience is like down below in the comment section. If you have made this pattern, New Look 6734, then let me know what your experience was in sewing up these swimsuits. Did you find the elastic guide to be completely whack as I did? I think it might be a fault with the printing of this pattern. So if ever you considered sewing up this swimsuit pattern, I do think it's a cute swimsuit. Just be wary of the elastic guides. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you like my swimsuits, be sure to go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And if you have gotten this far into this video and you are not yet a subscriber, then please consider subscribing. Go on and hit that subscribe button and turn your notifications on so you never miss any of my upcoming videos. That is all I needed to share with you guys today. So until next time, stay calm, stay cool, stay safe, and absolutely keep sewing. Peace.